accounting is one of the most available careers for women that there are, in terms of the ability to move from job to job, to change within the job, to make it flexible and adaptable to your personal situation. I think that we are still doing ourselves a disservice by not understanding and appreciate how valuable we are, so that when it is time to make a change or adapt or be flexible, we don't go about asking for it the right way.
So let's say you've been in it for how many years or so?
Going on 40.
So it must have been pretty different back then. What are some changes that are pretty drastic that maybe some of these new folks don't know about?
Well, you have to understand that when I came into the world of public accounting, that you dressed a certain way, you dressed as much like a man as you possibly could. I worked in organizations where you did not wear pants ever for any reason. There were rules about when you had a jacket on. There were rules about how much skin was permitted to be showed. There were coaching comments about behavior that was inappropriate for a woman in the office, but which would be perfectly appropriate for a man in the office. Clients were not accustomed to seeing women in positions of authority. I once handed a tax return. I was a manager in a Big Four firm, and I handed a tax return that I had signed to one of my first clients, an older gentleman, and he looked at it for a minute, and he looked at me and he said, "Has a guy looked at this?" And I said, "Yes, I had a very bright young senior do it for me. I reviewed his work and then I signed it, so it's okay."
Nice. What are some victories when something happened and you thought, finally?
You mean for me personally or just for the profession in general?
Either way.
I think that for me it was the realization that when people were finally starting to look at my body of work and my talent and not really identify or even make it be part of the equation that I was perhaps a female instead of a male, that was huge. Going to meetings in organizations early on, I'd be in a room of 100 men and there'd be 2 or 3 women. Now when I look at my department, at my office, it's predominantly female, and they are incredibly smart, talented, committed people that I would work with any day. I think the amount of exposure that women have in terms of college campuses and coming into the profession and how the field has changed tremendously. People don't want us to just talk about numbers anymore. People want us to be their advisors and their sounding boards. And the technology does a lot of the numbers work now, and we're allowed to be more expressive, more supportive actually to our clients. A lot of the qualities that I think females now can perceive as strengths instead of things to work against in the workplace.
So what's one thing you wish you would have known 40 years ago? Just one.
A couple different times in my life, because I was always striving for excellence and perfection and unattainable, unrealistic goals, I would box myself into a corner and feel that there was nowhere out except to just leave. Instead of stopping and taking a breath and talking to someone and saying, "I'm killing myself here, this is not working for me." I was a single mom in public accounting, almost unheard of. First divorced woman ever hired by Arthur Andersen in their practice in Arizona. So huge visibility, and I kind of would work myself into a corner and think, I'm not excelling completely, so I must be totally wrong and I have to leave. I wish that at that time, and I wish that people would understand that, first of all, you have to have realistic expectations, you have to give yourself permission to fail, and you have to understand that usually in most organizations, they're vested in you succeeding, and they would welcome the opportunity to talk to you about how to succeed before you pull the ripcord on bailing.
And right now, there's so many resources from these companies and organizations like this. Well,
Finally come to appreciate the financial investment that they have in the workforce, and losing women along the way because of their choices to leave, or because they don't view that they have a level playing field in terms of advancement, is a huge financial cost to organizations. So I think from that lever, they've come to appreciate that it's important to think about how to manage and promote women.